Swift and Tips podcast. Do you have any conference coming up?
I'm going to be going to Deep Dish Swift. That's coming up. I
Nice.
haven't actually. I've applied to a couple of conferences to speak at yet, but I think a lot of them are still like the later ones in the year are like still being announced. So there's only a couple. Um, have because it's always the debate of do you have the conference before Dub Dub or after Dub Dub? So and you can have like topics about like whatever Apple's like about to announce. Um,
Mm,
so I think all
got
the
it.
ones before Dub Dub, if I have all kind of been announced, and I'm only going to Deep Dish and possibly another. We'll see. Um, but like it's I've applied to a couple of them here and there, but then I'm looking at going to try to apply to like speak at several more this year as well.
Okay. Wow. I'm also applied to Deep Dish, by the way, and I'm waiting for a response. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet if I was rejected or so, but but yeah, I'm glad that people like you are uh, actively also looking for conferences and speaking in outside of the world. Uh, I have a question. So, if how do you manage that too? For example, how do you prepare? How many months in advance you think about the content that you want to present to others? Because it's I don't know. To me, it's quite complicated sometimes to decide. Okay, what kind of topic will be interesting for some others, and maybe I just underestimating the topic, and but I don't know how to measure that. How your experience? How is
Oh,
that?
yeah. That's the thing I'm kind of like struggling with right now is like figuring out what to talk about
Mm,
because I don't know, like some things like super in depth. Like I don't know how all the macros work super in depth, but like you've done a whole video on that. So
yeah.
like that could be a great conference talk. But like stuff like that, it can either be something super technical that you talk about or like not even super technical, but like still on a technical aspect and kind of figuring that out, or you could do something non-technical like at Deep Dish Swift last year. Via Fairchild did a whole talk on mentoring, and I think like she had
Mm,
great execution. Like it was a great talk, but it was non-technical, as in like
hmm
it was all about like mentoring and like being mentored, and then also like how to be a mentor.
hmm
Um,
Nice.
and then like that's a great talk as well. So it's kind of just like figuring out what you want to talk about, and that's something that I'm still kind of trying to figure out what I want to do, because right now everybody's talking about the Apple Vision Pro and all the topics around
Okay.
that. But like I've done a little bit with that, like not super in depth yet. So I feel like I can't talk on that topic like as much. Like I can regurgitate something that's like from a keynote of like this is what a space is, this is what like a volume is,
hmm
like that kind of stuff. But I feel like people are kind of looking for something either slightly more in depth or somebody who, once you really get into that and like start debugging more, you kind of then find out like the all the quirks that the platform has right now, just because it is also brand new.
hmm
So I don't have an answer kind of to that question, just because I'm trying to figure it out on my own as well. But it's sort of figuring out, I don't know, just like, do you want to do a technical talk or a non-technical talk,
That's a first
or
question. Yeah.
yeah, and then kind of from there, once you do have something to talk about, then being able to like expand on it and actually like build it into a full presentation. So like the very first thing I did was actually like a work presentation. I talked about Git and GitHub and just like a
hmm
super basic intro. What is Git? What is GitHub? We actually used that work at that time, GitLab, and what's the difference? And then also like I did a full like live demo and I solved like a merge conflict on screen, which is scary, but also it was kind of fun. And that's where I got into sort of like speaking, because I actually like had a blast with it. Where I was like super surprised because like throughout all of high school and college, like I hated public speaking, and then I tried to like speak on a stage because I was like, okay, I want to like try to get out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna give a talk to like 100 people, and I did, and actually it went really well, and I had like a blast doing it. So then that's where I sort of got into speaking more. But like, yeah, now I'm at the point too. I'm just like, I don't know what to talk about, but so I don't have a big answer, but it's still kind of, I don't know. It's kind of just figuring out what do you want to talk about, but also like what's current and what's happening.
hmm Yeah. And how do you prepare for that for talking to 100 people, for example? Do you plan it like I don't know, a couple of weeks of training yourself or so, or do you feel comfortable, or I don't know, how has been your experience with
I'm
public
not sure
speaking?
the time frame. It's like a couple weeks, couple like sometimes it can be months depending on what you're actually talking about, like how technical it is.
Hmm.
A lot of the talks I've given have I mean a kind of a course, but it's all been on topics I of course already know. So because of that, it's like I already kind of know generally what I want to talk about, and I'm somebody who when I give a presentation, it will be different every time I give it because I don't use a script or anything. So I don't
Okay.
say things like word for word because for me, like when I'm at a conference, then like reading something word for word, I would get caught up in reading it more so than like actually speaking it out loud.
Hmm.
So what
Yeah.
I do is like I will write bullet points on what I want to talk about, and then I can make sure like when I actually give the talk, I cover those
Hmm.
bullet points.
Okay.
Is sort of like how I do public speaking. So it's like I know what I'm talking about, I know the topic, this is what I want to cover, and then every time I give it, it will be like it will sound different um, because I don't follow like any very specific script or anything.
Okay.